I wanted to take some time to hear from you and answer questions you might have on IT fundamentals or computer literacy. So that's why we put together these Ask Me Anything episodes. My friend Aaron is going to ask questions about stuff in this chapter from viewers like you. I also want to hear from you as well. My email is at the end of the episode. Ask me anything.
Shanika from Austin, Texas asks, my PC runs slowly. What can I do and what software can I use to view the health of my PC?
It's a good question. It's a good question. The PC runs slowly for a lot of reasons. So let's look at software first and then think about some other things that could be going wrong. The software tool that you can access very quickly to look at the resources being used by your computer. And by resources, that's a fancy term for the CPU. How hard is it working? How full is your RAM? The tool that you can use is called Task Manager. And to get to Task, you can get to Task Manager in a couple of ways. You can go directly there by pressing Control, Shift, and Escape at the same time. That'll just open up Task Manager.
Okay.
Task Manager, you can also press Control Delete once, and then it'll give you a little screen saying, do you want to open Task Manager?
Okay.
So either way works. You can, once you have Task Manager open, you can look at the various resources being used. You can see all of the applications that are loaded, all the background applications loaded. You can look across the screen and see CPU utilization. You can see network usage. You can see how much RAM is being actively used, and if any, and how much hard drive access there is.
Oh, wow.
Right? I made a foolish mistake and downloaded a program that syncs with some very aggressive network storage, right? And so every time I boot my computer up, that application immediately goes onto the network to see all the files that have changed, right? And the effect of that is my computer runs really slowly.
Oh, wow.
Right? And the way I know that that's the activity that's happening is because I ran Task Manager, and there it was, 100% disk utilization.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? So it's just the hard drive is getting pounded as files are getting moved from the network onto my laptop, and vice versa. So the only fix for that was to uninstall that program.
Oh, okay.
Right? And no other way just to stop it from doing what it was designed to do.
I see. Well, that's good to know. That will be very helpful. Here's a pretty common question from Bill in Washington, D.C. My internet isn't working. What do I do?
Oh boy. Okay, so there's a zillion reasons why the internet is down. Is it really down? Okay.
You tell me.
Let's going to specific questions, right? Let's walk through the path to the internet being down or up, right? You have your client computer of some sort. It is connected via wire or wirelessly to your switch, your router, right? Your internet service provider, your cable modem, right? Or DSL, whatever connection you have to the internet. So there's that string of connectivity and devices already. Then we also have connectivity between your machines and the internet service provider.
Right.
So if that goes down, then the internet's down. The rest of the internet's working great. It's just your little slice of heaven is no longer all that delightful.
That's all that matters.
Right, right. But then from the internet service provider, that in turn connects up the chain, right, to the backbone of the internet, to other big servers on the internet that make it all these big connections happen. So if there's a problem in that connection, this can cause the internet in your bigger slice of heaven to be down. This happened when this happens when big natural disasters happen, like hurricanes flow up or Superstorm Sandy some years ago just took out some of the internet routers, the big ones, and so it just shut cities down. Right, and in that case, the internet really was down, at least for big swaths of the country. So by thinking holistically, right, of all the different pieces that have to connect for the internet to be functional, then you can start troubleshooting, can I get to my ISP? Right? Can I access other computers on my network? right?
Right.
Is my wireless working? Oftentimes with wireless, we have to, the machines just get tired or something, and the only fix for that is to reboot the router.
Right.
Right? So unplug it, wait for 10 seconds, plug it back in. Somehow they just magically fix themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there can be that. A phone call to the internet service provider saying, please run a check on my line, right, to see if that could be a problem. These are things that users can do. This is not techie stuff, right? You're just kind of looking, is it plugged in, right? Is this thing working? Did some electrical switch in my house flip?
Yeah.
Right, so the power in one room is out, or I don't know, right? But there's many things that you as a user can check before you ever have to call tech support. But then the tech support call is totally legitimate, right? Make that call to your ISP and say, please check my line.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gone through all of the list of things to check for, and now it's time for me to call tech support.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm talking,
dreaded call.
Yes, the dreaded call, of course. Sometimes they use some jargon that I'm not totally familiar with. Can you give me some tips on how to navigate a great tech service call?
Absolutely. Part of the beauty of the IT Fundamentals course is you now have a lot more language than you did when you started.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you should be able to at least understand how the systems work and how the applications and network and stuff works.
Yeah.
Even if you forget the specific words, you now have an idea of how the whole thing works.
That's true.
Right? And so the beauty of that is you can stop the tech when he or she starts going into some topic and go, could you explain that to me in human terms instead of techie terms? That's totally legitimate, by the way.
Okay.
Sometimes tech people will just use jargon because that's the correct word for what they're trying to do. But if you don't know what that jargon means, you need to ask and go, what does that mean? How does that show up on what I'm looking at?
Okay.
Right? And another thing is to be very specific, just like with your grandpa, right? Just like with Bill and my internet's down, right? You need to be very specific with these are the error messages I'm getting. This is the issue that I'm having. This is what I've tried.
Makes sense.
And with the ISP, kind of going back to that, the first thing they're going to have you do is reboot your system. Okay. So you should do that before you call them.
Yes.
Just because that goes magic, I don't know why. It just does. So reboot the system, and they're going to ask you that, even though if the problem still manifests when you call them and you've rebooted your system, they're going to have you reboot the system again. Just reboot the system.
Do it
just
again.
let them. They have a script, right? Because most tech calls are the same thing. Right, there are these top 10 things that go wrong because users are users, right?
Yep.
And they do stuff that is not necessarily good, right? You go to a website, you click on something, okay, that was bad, right? But because that's something that we all do, the tech support people have a list of things that they want to go through first to solve all the easy stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so just go through the list, and whenever they ask you to do something that you're not following, just have them step back and say, walk me through that one more time more slowly, please.
Okay.
Another thing is a lot of tech support is outsourced, right? So there might be a language issue or an accent issue. So depending on how well you are at understanding an Indian accent or a New York accent, right? There could be all kinds of different people on the other line.
Right.
And so it's, again, completely legitimate to say, will you say that one more time, more slowly, please?
Okay.
Right? And to give yourself time to hear the words and what they're saying and be able to follow what they're asking you to do.
Okay, that's good. So take things slow and you'll get there.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's motivating.
Yeah, and the final piece of advice is try not to get frustrated.
Okay.
Right? Because you're already there.
Yes.
Right? Because your computer's not working right.
Yes.
And so the technician is your friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
The tech call you're making is to your friend who's trying to help you. Okay? But he or she has a list of stuff. Go through that list with him.
Okay.
Right? And follow through and try not to get mad if it doesn't get fixed right away, because there's so many different things that can cause computer problems. He's shooting in the dark as well.
Right.
Right? So kind of trying the simple things first and then go to the more complicated things. So eventually you'll get there. It might take a little while on the tech call.
It's worth it.
So be patient.
Okay, be patient.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks so much. That concludes the questions for Chapter 14. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you all as well. My email's right there at the bottom of the screen. Ask me anything.